Hey everybody, so not my prettiest game ever, but I just played a PvT, which was had a pretty some cool moments. So, oops, let me turn down my volume. It's the second video that's happened, and I'm sorry about that. But so I honestly was feeling a little cheesy today, so I've been playing pretty cheesy. But I decided it was my first PvT matchup of the day. Obviously, I'm random, so I do have I think a little bit of an advantage in that way. Um, and so I decided I was going to go for the 2 base because I actually played a game recently where some guy, I played as Protoss and I just did an early pressure into an expansion that just completely failed, and this guy shamed me. He was mean about it. But I sent the early probe and I kept it down on the low ground. And I'm not going to lie, at 1 minute in the game, I was starting to think, oh man, I got a gateway on the way, but I could slap down a forge and maybe cause some real issues for this guy. And actually, he will end up setting this SCV down. He does not see the probe there, so he has no idea that I'm here. But I built the forge for defensive purposes, but I did not try to do anything cheesy, even though I was so tempted. I actually end up pulling this probe back here. So he goes 2 gas, and he was a pretty decent Terran, I would say. I think he was about almost a 2900 MMR. Threw down the forward pylon, of course, back at the base. Went for cybernetics core first, then expansion. I really don't know what's the best way to do it, honestly. But so he sends out a forward marine. I actually decided right before the marine, you can see it's on its way now, I decided to just send this probe away from this pylon. I was like, what's the point of it being there? And as you can see, it was just in the nick of time. And I actually end up moving the probe away from here to it, moving it here, which you'll see. I'm pretty sure he scouts out that area too. Meanwhile, my base just, I don't know why I built an adept. I feel like it's a little bit more beefy and just a little bit more formidable than a stalker. As you can see, though, I completely forgot about the Liberator play. I don't know what I was thinking. I mean, as someone who plays as Terran and uses that Liberator harass, especially against a Protoss, I was not prepared for that. Or not, I shouldn't say I wasn't prepared. Mentally, I wasn't prepared. I ended up building the Stalker just sort of out of instinct, so that was good. This guy, yeah, a little late on his expansion probably, but he's clearly going for some early pressure and trying to gain an initiative here. So let's check the MMR here. Oh, that's already up. So as you can see, his MMR is a little bit stronger than mine, but I think he ends up getting 4 probes altogether here. Able to fairly easy evade it, continue developing. As you can see here, we have 2 Stargates on the way, couple of gateways, and then obviously going for charge and blink. Charge first, because when I get my void rays, if you know how I play, I like to transition to the zealot. But here's the thing. So this actually gets really dicey for a minute here, because as you can see, I am basically spending all my attention on these Liberators and, just not really being a Protoss by nature. I don't have a lot of instincts for the game, although I will say I did well with my economy, I think, for the most part. Definitely could have done better, but so suddenly the next thing I know, let's watch it from my perspective, here we are. He's here, and it's not good, just after I feel like I've settled myself. And so obviously warp is ready. Now let's pause at this moment here. So as we see, he's got 3 tanks, not quite a few Marines, but I think he's being a little sloppy with them. Honestly, I think he saw nothing there and felt a little confident. But if he was paying attention to his Liberator, probably should have seen that. 3 Stalkers, a cannon, a wall, and then 2 warped in Zealots. I mean, the tanks are a huge advantage, but they're not a huge advantage if you don't have vision, and giving away your Marines so easily is maybe a little foolish. Like these 2 that are about to drop didn't have to. Another thing that was a little foolish here is that this tank is, I think, not in a great position. I understand the tank line, but as you can see, I actually was able to pick it off from my ramp, basically, which was basically, I would say, what broke this attack. And then the other thing that's happening is the Void Rays coming out. So even though that looked kind of scary for a minute, you'll see the Void Ray comes out. Meanwhile, he's committing everything forward, and he really gets caught in a pretty rough position here. Let's just see him. He really didn't pay enough attention to his forward attack here, and he also didn't when he had the Liberator, which it makes sense. But as we can see with his vision, he didn't do a good job at all figuring out what was happening in my base. And so just as I was caught off guard, obviously this Void Ray, which is going to drop, I mean, both these siege tanks are going to drop. Had I been a little bit more aggressive, I think I could have even gotten one of those. I mean, it was a classic example of just getting kind of, I mean, he expanded, which was good, but just sort of mismanaged us. I mean, tanks, just leaving tanks in there in general, even with just ground units, I think is, I don't know, a little questionable. And again, he could have had better vision on the base and known that Void Rays were on the way and better prepared for it. But I really think he had no idea, or at least it seems that way. And of course, for me, I try to do a warp and take the advantage. And then of course, we have this probe here who's been sitting by waiting for his moment. And so the probe is now building a forward pylon here. So of course, he's got to run back to his base, travel across the map, and then by the time we get to the base, again, I think he definitely could have handled some of these exchanges better, but as you can see, it's just a tough one for him. Now, I don't have charge yet, I don't believe. It's about to pop, but not quite yet. So, but look at how he just loses all of his teched up units. I really think that was, I mean, he could have pulled those medvacs back. He could have done a lot. And actually these, another thing that's really important is I had +1. And he had no upgrades whatsoever. So that's another key thing about this game. Even though I promise you it was a poopy build and also a medvac forward at my base doesn't do much for him. But I didn't do great with this build. But having +1 and throwing down that forge, I mean, that's the difference in a lot of these games at this level is who gets their upgrades and who doesn't, and who's thinking about getting upgrades and who isn't. And again, in a game where I'd say I didn't handle it that well, and given this guy's MMR and that he plays as a Terran, I would think that he could have better games than this. And again, his attack was pretty good, but he's got to have better vision on my main base. As you can see, the main target here is the siege tank, or at least what I thought would be the siege tank. Of course, he's building cyclones, which I don't know how good they actually are. So, I mean, it's not really about the workers being killed here. I got quite a few, but it's really more about just taking out anything that's gonna give us issues here. And I feel like there are Void Rays somewhere else on the map, but maybe I could have sworn I made more Void Rays, but I guess not, because it says there's only one. But I swear I remember clicking it. But oh, there we go. A little late there. But so that was a pretty fun win as Protoss, and I do have to say that, especially against a Terran, especially at this level, I don't know what kind of early pressure they're gonna throw. As long as you're able to be active at the front, you throw down a cannon, and warp is ready. That tack probably came at right around the 5-minute mark, I guess. Or no, I guess not. It was a little bit late because of this little harass. But the point is even if he had pushed the front a little bit earlier, I think it would have been okay with the Stalker and the Adept. So long story short, it's a cruel world out there, and it goes both ways. So luckily, this one for me went the right way. But now I'm just clicking all over the place. But thanks for joining in. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.